Hello and welcome back to Talkin Pitchside. I'm your host PJ with my co-host Tony, as always, to cover a very busy week in the MLS and World Cup news cycle here. We've got recap to do. We're not really gonna do preview, but we've got midweek games in the MLS here on Wednesday, and we have World Cup news. We're now at that time where there's injuries happening these last 2 weeks, and it's super depressing because you're seeing a lot of guys that just aren't going to be able to play in the World Cup. There's USA players this is affecting. So we'll get into all that. We've got the power rankings to do at some point in this episode. So there's a lot to cover here, and we're ready. We're ready for it. And Thursday, Friday episode is going to be very similar because it's going to be a recap and a preview and World
Double
Cup.
whammy.
So,
Yes.
tis the season, Tony. They're getting games in for MLS before the World Cup, and we're here to cover both of these topics. So
We've prayed for times
I think
like
we've hit the
these.
busy season. It is here and it's upon us.
Yes, we have. We've prayed for times like these. You have to enjoy them.
Yep.
From our perspective, it's like, oh crap, what do we cut out? But from your guys' perspective, you get you get all the good stuff, right? So none of the boring blabbing that we do to Phil. This is all solid gold content now. So welcome to the Twilight Zone. This is peak Talkin pitch side.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's, like we say every single week, the tradition, like any other, Toronto at 1 p.m. is where we always have to start because that's what the MLS is pushing on us. It's talk about Toronto at 1 p.m. And Tony, injuries finally caught up to this team, and they have all the injuries going to the buzzsaw that is Miami at times on the road. Just couldn't sustain it in the first 60, 70 minutes, especially in this one. It was pretty relentless for Miami. Now, Toronto had a few chances. It was a little back and forth there, but once Miami finally broke through, it's like it all happened really fast. And Messi had a terrific game. They win this one 4-2. Toronto gets 2 goals late in this one, but before that, it was all Miami and a game Miami needed. And kind of at this point where we were like, Toronto needs wins, but they're so injured, and it's just a perfect storm for disaster brewing for the season for Toronto. And unfortunately, they're going to have to really fight in the second half of the season on the road when these guys get healthy. But in this case, you could just tell there was something lacking, especially in the attack for Toronto, and that first 60, 70 minutes that a Mihailovic and Josh Sargent combo would really help.
Yeah, exactly. That could have flipped this game on its head because we say, like, it doesn't matter who you are, you will get your opportunities against Miami. Those came pretty late for Toronto, but, I mean, they still capitalized on 2 goals when, honestly, the game was dead. And so, imagine then for a second if they kind of created more moments, earlier in the game before it just got out of hand. It could be a totally different storyline. But nonetheless, I think that really they just met the Miami buzzsaw, as you call it, at the wrong time. This was just a hornet's nest that got poked by Orlando over the weekend, and they had something to prove. I think that was spoken really loudly, and I believe it was the Luis Suarez goal where Edwards was down hurt, and they just kept playing, which there's no rule to say that they can't, but they certainly ignored the...
Kept him on side. It was brutal.
Yes, okay, kept him on side. They certainly ignored the nice gesture that they could have taken there. Especially while they were already up, too. So just something that I thought that spoke volumes that, like, this is a team that's trying to fight. Now, they still got their issues. I think one of them being in their, first goal they conceded to Toronto, David Ayala, a really bad giveaway. And go back in the time machine like 2-3 months ago, we were raving about them signing Ayala and, the high risk, high reward signing he was going to be. Well, here we are, and it's just kind of another one of those things, kind of like Berterame, that just hasn't exactly panned out yet for Miami, and so we feel like there's still more to see from them, and you see stuff like that. You did get a Reguilon goal. That was something that also kind of thought we were going to see a little bit earlier too, but nonetheless, we're here. But yeah, Miami was just pissed off, and this was a game that they treated almost like a playoff game. And we'll see this occasionally where they turn off and they turn back on, or they don't need to play a full game because they score 4 goals and can kind of coast. And Yeah, that's unfortunate timing for Toronto, but this one was just Miami dictating everything.
Yeah, I mean, it, with a team that overhauled as much as they did, the assumption is usually, hey, this team's only going to get better as the season goes
Hmm.
on. But when you're a Messi led team, you have the expectations you have. I think everyone's just immediate like it's gonna work right away. Like this is an amazing team. Like it's just gonna happen. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. And when you're as good as they are, you can still be this good in the
Yeah,
figuring out period. So, I think we all expect that come second half of the season, we could see a different version of Miami that is grooving. Now, I don't know how the World Cup's going to play into that because they have several guys that are going to be competing in a World Cup, and that could play a factor into what their legs are like in the second half. So we'll be keeping an eye on all of that. Second game in the window here, Tony, was Chicago at home versus Red Bulls, and wow, I did not expect
yeah,
to see this result. A game just possession wise dominated by Chicago, and Red Bulls converted their chances, and that's what it came down to. You don't see this Red Bulls defense play this well at times because they really like stayed packed. They camped it out a little bit and played on the counter. We haven't seen that a ton from this team, but that's exactly what you want to see from a guy like Michael Bradley that's learning how to win in this league. Sometimes you have to play different. The Chicago's attack has been that good where you knew you were going to be in a shootout if you played a certain way, and they said, "Okay, let's play compact, let's play in the counter," and that's exactly what they did. And Chicago couldn't get a ton of quality chances, and that it just Kuipers gets one late, and it was really all New York with
yeah,
the quality chances here in the first 85 minutes of this one.
yeah. This is the Red Bulls that I think this isn't necessarily their ceiling, but this is certainly a high caliber that we could expect from them. And we're really waiting to see this consistently week in and week out from them. Because it was, like you said, a completely controlled game by the Red Bulls on the road. Honestly, a true turning of the tides, honestly, I think, for both of these teams. Chicago started the season really strong. This is their third straight loss, all competitions. So, a little bit of a head scratcher here and back to the whiteboard for Chicago, which is surprising because, right now, I mean, other than Andre Franco, this is a pretty preferred setup here for Chicago. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch is how they kind of meet this bad form if they can dig out of it. And vice versa. I mean, Red Bulls was just dying for points and they couldn't buy a win. And it comes here not to, look too far into it, but I think the huge thing for this one was I say this all the time with Chicago. They'll give you the wings, right? Because their outside backs are going to play up. And guess who? Two of the goal scorers were for
Cade
Red
Cowell.
Bulls. It
Yep.
was Cade Cowell and Ruvalcaba. They're two wingers. They were able to exploit that space that Chicago was providing them, and really take off with it. And then I think a Choupo-Moting penalty as well. So it's one of those things where maybe the matchup was a little bit favorable for Red Bulls and how they played, but man, I mean those wingers need that confidence booster. They just a lot has kind of died attacking wise on the outside for this Red Bull team, and then has not protected their back line, which has looked pretty poor so far this year. So that changed. The script was flipped for this game, and now the question is are they going to be able to kind of have that traction on the outside that they really need against their next opponents? So certainly really watching new trajectories based off of this game here, but a shocker for all of us because it was against the grain of the form for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, it was. I think by far, Cade Cowell's probably best performance so far as a New York Red Bull. That you've kind of been waiting for this. This is a guy they paid a pretty penny for and hasn't really translated back to the MLS as I think as seamless as everyone thought it would look. He's been in and out of the lineup at times, but I think this is a good step in the right direction for him to find that consistency back in the MLS. And then for Chicago, I mean, this is now a little bit of a slide that they gotta bounce back out of before the World Cup break here. So we'll see how they do that. Next game before the 7:30 window kicked off, Tony, Montreal beat a team outside of New York, baby. We have Montreal beating Orlando 2-0. I think you were pretty. I think in predictions you were on this one. I think you liked Montreal. Um, Now this one really happened late. This was two goals in the added time. 90+4 was the first goal of this game.
Yeah,
Um, but this was a very deserving win. I mean, Montreal put their foot on Orlando's throat in this game, and could have this game could have been 4-0. If you watch back, if you go back watch the highlights, like this should have been more goals for Montreal, and they were
Mm.
rewarded late. For Orlando, it's just like one step forward, two steps back. Like I just like I don't know how you come out with this type of performance after the last one, and I think this is gonna be the story of Orlando. I think they're just gonna try and survive and hope Griezmann fixes it, and I think it's gonna look similar to that messy first year. If I'm being honest, like that's like the vision I'm seeing with this team is
Mm.
you're gonna play mediocre ball, hope he kind of saves you. Still might not be enough to make the playoffs by the time he gets going. Um, but I think that's just kind of like the recipe they're going with. So we'll see how it plays out for them. But great win for Montreal at home in this one.
I think this one really defines the totem pole. I think of the Eastern Conference. That's not Orlando at the bottom. Um, but I do need to apologize to all the listeners because I did work for a while on trying to find. We said for the longest time Montreal could only beat New York teams. And so I said, oh, like, what is a common thread between only Orlando and New York? So we could say that Montreal only beats teams that blank. And ChatGPT wasn't helping me a lot on that. They just said, like, oh, yeah, lots of tourism, Disney World, New York City. But I don't know. Didn't get to spend the time I wanted to trying to come up with this comparison. So I'm calling on the
We're,
fans here.
we're thankful. We're thankful for your efforts, those. But yes, fans,
Yes,
help us
yes.
find that
Help
thread
us
because
help us
there's
find the
got to be a
common
reason.
thread. What is something that like you can only do in New York City in Orlando, and then that's the key to how.
Horrible traffic.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you get that in LA and everywhere else. But uh, I'll think a little bit longer on that, and that'll be Montreal's rallying cry next time we see a city that maybe has this trait.
Yeah.
But um, onto the on-field stuff. I will mention, like, I mean, Montreal definitely controlled this game. Disappointed in Orlando, and that they really did take the whole game and really were able to hold it off. And then it's Robin Janssen, honestly, in both of these goals, who I thought really let Orlando down. And when he's your main anchor, he's your main guy. They just signed him to an extension this offseason. Clearly looked worse without him early this season when he was hurt. And now, like, he's giving up these kind of mistakes that are costing you points to teams like Montreal. It's just a really tough look. I know you can't pin it solely on him. Those two moments where he was heavily involved in, you can flip the script and just say, hey, Orlando attack didn't do anything against this Montreal defense. It's not, all that. But, your eyes are going to gravitate towards those defining moments in matches. And both of those moments went to Robin Janssen in not a good way. So that has me maybe not worried for him specifically yet because there's way more things to worry about with Orlando. But if that's not going right and that continues to not go right, this could get even worse. We may not have seen their floor yet, which that's a pretty scary thought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting how all the teams that were in it for the Spoon last year have been outplaying that type of play, and we're seeing new Spoon contenders this year.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like all the DCs and the Montreals of the world, like they've been playing at a higher floor, and it's interesting to watch to see how that's going to play out over a full season. So,
Yeah.
I like the parody. The parody's fun. Uh, moving on here, we had a comeback late in this one. You have Atlanta go up in the 69th minute, and you're like, wow, Atlanta's like they've been kind of playing decent lately. Like this is a great game for them to go on and win. And Gabriel Peck, Tony, shows up when the Galaxy need him most. Finally, we get a Peck moment. They've been dying for these wingers to get going. He really took it upon himself in this one, and you love to see it. It was a great showing, and Galaxy fans are going to be pumped. They're going to be pumped to see that the wingers were able to make an impact in this one, and Peck especially. I mean, this is a guy that they've put a lot of investment in. A lot of people have put expectations on the guy like this, and it almost feels like these wingers are like competing for like who's sticking around next year because you're not keeping both
Yeah.
these guys. It feels like, and Payne still just like hasn't shown the reliability to one be on the field, and when he's been on the field, provide consistently. And you've seen these flashes from Peck this year, and I think it's as a Galaxy fan, I think they're surviving well enough with these injuries that you hope you get João Klaus back here in the second half, and you can kind of go on a run. And I think if you can stack up little wins like this, especially on the road, they can keep their head above water to sneak into the playoffs this year.
Certainly. I mean, this is new for the Galaxy, or not new, but different as of late, like the last few years, seeing them
Mhm.
go on the road like this and get a comeback win when it seems like it's down and out. I will say a little bit to Atlanta's credit. Moyamba had a really nice goal that was called back in this one. I honestly do not really understand why. It was kind of a phantom foul on Marcinkowski, the Galaxy goalkeeper, but they called the goal back. This one could have easily been 2-2. This could have been 2-0 for Atlanta. Honestly, if the cards played out differently, so I do feel for them a little bit there. But in classic Talkin pitch side fashion, we have to mention that you make your own luck, right?
Hmm.
And that's just honestly what happened here for the Galaxy, and what unhappened here for Atlanta, which has just been the theme for Atlanta and a little bit of a trend for the Galaxy this year, as far as just picking up points where they normally wouldn't have. So, um, that's just kind of the break of this one. I would say like, oh man, Atlanta robbed, but it's like they always end up on the wrong side of these
It's
things,
like
and it's like,
it's like Philly at this point. Philly's the exact
yes,
same team.
yes, it's like,
They
how
go
does
up in
this
games, and we'll talk
happen?
about it later. And it's like like they're gonna find a way to do something new like that. This is
Yep.
what this team does.
And man, that Atlanta fan base has got to be so broken at this point too. Just seeing this, but um, thus is what it is. That's just how the ball bounces sometimes. And Peck making himself important again. Marco Royce getting involved. It's the right names for the Galaxy.
That's what I was gonna say.
Um,
Marco
so
Royce is quietly putting together a good campaign when he's been on the field. Like he is providing. I think he's 4 goals, 4 assists in league play this year so far, which is, I mean, compared to what he was doing last year,
you're
is
right.
leaps and bounds better. So
Yeah,
if you can get that, especially when you get Klaus going and back healthy, and if you can get Painsil and Peck both healthy and going at the same time, like that was the recipe where you're like, okay, this is a playoff team. Like if you can get Marco Royce feeding into these guys, so we'll see. I don't know. I don't want to like jump the gun that this is Galaxy all the way back, but I think as a Galaxy fan, you're liking that you're beating teams like Atlanta, especially on the road. Like it is great to get 3 points on the road in this league.
yeah. The Galaxy bad luck is that the year that they're coming out of the cave, the Western Conference turns out to be cracked, and they're in ninth place, even though they're not doing awful. Like, so it's just like that's kind of how it breaks too. But no, all in all, we're seeing the same trends with these teams that we've seen for a little bit now.
Yep. We'll move into Charlotte FC Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati went up 2-0 early in this game in the first half, and then Charlotte get two back in like a 1.5 minute span here in the second half, and that's what that game ends 2-2. One of those games, I think this result, if you told both teams, they would have been okay with. If you told them pregame, like a point shared, but I think it's how it happened is going to be the disappointing factor for Cincinnati. That it was just really like a 2 minute lapse that you had defensively that resulted in this. And then for Charlotte, I think if you would have told them pregame if it was a point, you would have been like, you're like, oh man, I wish we gotten all three. When you tell me you were down 2-0 in the game, you're like, okay, I feel good about the team fighting back, like you haven't seen them do in recent games. So um, definitely, I think kind of measuring stick where these two teams are right now. Like Charlotte's, I think, a middle of the pack Eastern Conference team. FC Cincinnati's playing like a middle of the pack Eastern Conference team, playing better as of late. I mean, they've lost in five, but still, you can tell these two teams still have a ways to go to compete with like the top teams in the MLS. So definitely interesting to see uh, how these teams come out, and it was really star power that provided for these two teams. And I think for FC Cincinnati, especially, you've got to feel good the way that Danke and Evander have been performing as of late.
Yeah, for sure. Especially Evander. I mean, you put in our group chat, and I think it's true. I mean, if you just look at these last few games, he's back to MVP form, and how he's playing. It's been ridiculous. So, a really good performance from him on the night, and really this last few weeks. That being said, I think we find a lot of things like you know Cincinnati's still trying to find a complete game that they're playing where it's, a 90-minute performance. And honestly, it was very peculiar that, they probably had like an 85-minute game here. Like they looked really good except for such a tiny span, and it just punished them so hard. From a Charlotte perspective, though, I mean, they walked into, this game needing a win. They've been in tough form, trying to bounce back. Cincinnati controlled the entire first half.
Mm-hmm.
They responded in the second half, and you could tell. I mean, they threw more bodies forward. They got their 2 goals back, and then they fell right back into where they started again and kind of let Cincinnati control the game. They still had a glancing moment, especially late. I believe it was Pep Biel that had a really nice look that trickled just wide, but it's kind of confusing to me. Like it feels like there's a little bit of a maybe a pragmatic approach, or just a little bit stagnant with this Charlotte team, that like they did not fight harder to get 3 points at home when they desperately need it. I, as a Cincinnati fan, was watching and kind of thinking, especially after watching the 2-minute implosion, thinking like for the last like 20-ish, 30-ish minutes, that's it. That's all they're going to do. Like that, give me something. I mean, not that I wanted to see that personally, but like it was, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was just so confusing, like where that fight is, where it went. Um, and I don't know if that's a coach thing in this case. I don't know if that's a players thing in this case. Obviously there's, this is one of the older teams in the league. This is a team, with Zaha and Leo Abada that are both kind of a little bit on the outs with the fan base. Zaha's more of a cult hero, I guess, but Christian Kalina also had a decent save or two, but he has not been what we're used to seeing out of him. And there's just a really weird fog. I honestly, as how the best way I can describe it is like a fog over this team right now that just can't really figure out who they are or really commit to something pretty heavily. So I have more takeaways for Charlotte on this one than I do for Cincinnati. I think that Cincinnati, showed good spark, still ways to go, but they're figuring out different personnel in different places. I'm not as worried about them as I am with Charlotte. Just looking at what's the goal of the season, where they're headed. It feels a little bit rudderless.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, it's been I don't know. This game, I was like, I didn't take, like you said, I didn't take a whole lot coming out of it. Like it's just like it's more of the same with how these teams have looked at times. So, I think both teams are gonna come out of this one just being like, we're playing a lot of games right now. I'll take a point, and let's move on from here. So, New England takes down Philadelphia 2-1 in a electric matchup. I mean, Philly goes up on an own goal, so they didn't even score their own goal. And you're feeling good. And then New England scored that first goal, Tony. And I remember getting the update, and I was hopping around games at that point. My daughter had 103 fever all weekend, so I was sitting there on the couch with a crying baby. And as soon as I got that update, I was like, they're gonna lose this game. I was like, they're gonna find a way to lose this game. And they once again we keep saying it with them, they're playing better than teams. Like if you
Yeah.
watch it, you're like they have the better chances and the better opportunities, and then they just implode late in ways you can't imagine. I can't imagine being a Philly fan right now. And we went through it to an extent with this FCC years when it was bad, but we knew we were bad. Like this is a team that won the Supporter Shield last year,
Yeah.
and it's new ways every single week. You just cannot find any consistency with their 11. It changes all the time. It's just a madhouse. And then New England, I think there's a lot of haters out there. I think a lot of people are just quick to be like schedule, which I get, like I totally get, but they're beating these teams and they're
Yeah.
finding ways to win games. And if you would have gone to a New England fan and been like, people are gonna be mad that you're winning games against bad teams. A New England fan from last year would have been like, awesome, I'll sign up for that all late.
Yeah.
Like this,
Exactly.
they were Philly last year. That's what this New England team was. And we put their coach in the hot seat in like week 3 of the season, Tony, last
Yeah.
year. And to see where they're playing right now, playing with some like consistency and some fire, like you would sign up for that. So I think if you're a New England fan, apologize to absolutely nobody. Enjoy this, and if you're a Philly fan, you probably aren't watching anymore and not listening to this podcast because you just don't want to listen to anything
You're
MLS
pissed
related.
off.
So
Yeah.
Poor Philly, but this is just more of the same for these two teams.
Yeah, it is. One small improvement, I guess, if you want to say, is that we got 73 minutes out of Kevin Sullivan this time, which that helps. And like
Finally,
and he's still like probably the best attacker on the field for them. Like he's
he
creating great opportunities.
he looks the
Um,
best. He does, and he's
yeah,
17, 16.
yeah, and he's doing that. And one of the chances he ended up putting a shot that Turner spilled right into the box in the danger area, and like I forget, I don't know who it was, if it was Olowski or someone else, but takes a shot at an open net, and Fofana somehow blocks it off the line, and like not only are they finding new ways to concede, they're finding new ways not to score as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like as awesome as that was from a New England perspective, like that was epic defending, but it's like Philly. Oh my gosh, that's got to go in. That just has to find the net somehow.
Yep.
Just put it in. So I I don't know what to say with this Philly team. I have no answers other than I think we know that the play style works. You just have to have the talent. You have to have the players, and they've shipped out too much. It was too much too fast. Imagine this team with Baribo, and he's receiving crosses in from Kevin Sullivan, and on the other side they've got Kai Wagner, and he's causing problems. On the right side, like it's just like all those guys could cause like just be so problematic for so many teams, but they shipped it out too fast, too early. No Glesnes to anchor in things in the back. Like it's just like, yeah, I don't know what to say about Philly other than unless they get reinforcements, which that is not a guarantee with how they operate and their
I
budget.
would say it's almost a guarantee they won't. And the
Yeah,
way they're playing
correct.
too.
Then it's scary times ahead. But we got to credit New England. Absolutely perfect at home. I think 6 wins now at home in 6 games. This is it's not necessarily what supporter shield team winning teams do, though they do that as well. But this is certainly what playoff teams do. This is certainly what playoff teams that are hosting games in the playoffs do. Is just securing points at home. Now the road stuff that's got to get figured out, but they're already doing half the battle here and beating these teams and doing it in front of their fans, building momentum, building up that fan base. So all really good things from New England. Do they have the talent to like persevere through this and to kind of raise it up? That's what's yet to be seen. Obviously, really impressive run, but outside of Carlos Heel, what are we doing here, guys? Who's going to step up and be the man? We thought Dor Turgeman was going to be, and then he's kind of been a little bit quiet. So we'll keep watching this New England team. They're certainly going to have to grab your attention now, and what they do with that is yet to be seen.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable they're doing without really any striker play.
Yeah, like
It's
none.
crazy. Um, but yeah, it's fun. It's a fun story. One of those fun early stories. Seeing a team like this just kind of pop up, and you're like, okay, we have something here. And first year coach, like this is about as best as you could hope for a team like this, where thought you were
Yeah,
going to be developing young guys, because that's a U.S. youth national team coach like comes in, and it's just been the opposite. So you love it. It's good steps, it's easier to be like move young guys along when you're winning with it. Like it's like an easier sell. So
yeah.
it's good times for New England right now. Dallas and RSL. Hey, I'm gonna go hand up. I was all over this one. I loved this one, and I told you that Dallas was gonna show up, and it wasn't really even close. It wasn't even close, and
Yeah.
I was dumbfounded watching it. I couldn't believe the way that Dallas controlled this game from start to finish. And Diego Luna gets one late to get on the score sheet. You made it a little nervous for about 10 minutes, and then Dallas finishes it off. But it it was it was like just the most bunker counter strategy, and it worked perfectly. And RSL had no answers. Like you were watching it, and they would like get to the edge of the box, and they just could never get the ball farther than that. Like it was just like shoot it from out there, we dare you. That's basically what Dallas was trying to do, and they took advantage of it. And
Yeah.
you're seeing teams like this. You're seeing the strategy quite a bit in the MLS right now. Like you're seeing a lot of teams go at this because I think there is some parity in terms of like talent level of these teams, and right now like RSL's talent level on the attack is stronger than like Dallas. Like although they have Peter Musa, like you could still point to RSL and be like they're more consistent right now. They have more guys going, and I appreciate that Dallas is recognizing that and not just going like, hey, we're gonna try and like go at you attack for attack. It's like, nope, we're at a disadvantage, and we are going to play this way. If we need to come out, if you go up early, we'll do that. But until then, we're gonna get our early goals and just be like, I dare you to shoot from 30 yards out, and it worked. And RSL had no answers.
Yeah, I mean Dallas's goals were all against the grain, transitional moments, and just to kind of back up what I'm agreeing with kind of your synopsis of this game, which was that low block just frustrated RSL. RSL had 141 passes in FC Dallas's defensive third, but only 14 touches in the box. There is just a very clear like once you kind of Dallas drew the line, and RSL was not able to break that line, and so that is honestly really impressive to me. I mean, we knew that RSL like is very opportunistic with the turnovers and pressing high and all of that, right? But it felt like too that they had players that we liked the quality of that we could trust or we thought we could trust in breaking that down. I think this is the first test of that, and they didn't really pass it. Well, in fact, they did not. Now the Luna goal in that moment they did break, and if you watch the highlight of that one, like Gulavogi has a nice kind of chipped, lofted, curling half cross that lands at Luna's feet. Then he shuffles over twice to get his angle on net and scores. And like that, they needed more moments like that with the way that Dallas was going to play. Either they were unprepared for that, or that's just not really in their bag. In either way, I think that certainly kind of puts a notch a little bit into the belt of RSL, and just saying that they are a vastly improved team this year, and they're still stepping stones. There's still other milestones that they've got to hit. So a little bit back down to earth moment for them. Dallas, I think you got to take this and run. I think it was also fun too. Santi Moreno gets a goal for Dallas here. During season acquisition, paying off a little bit there, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come. So that it's not always the Musa as Batman and Farrington as Robin show. That they've got other dangerous folks there. And then obviously Sam Sarver has just been a speed demon off the bench, and he's been a fun story to rally behind. If you ever see any of his press conferences or anything, like he will die for FC Dallas, and the man is just so excited to play any minute he can. And like his goal, I think you can tell too, like he just wanted it more than anyone else, and that's just the way he plays. So he's a fun Tasmanian devil to keep an eye on when he plays. But yeah, that's the takeaways there. I think this is a very solid, reputable win for Dallas.
Yeah, they needed it. It was a really good home win. You need to get these home wins when you can with the schedule breakdown. So good for them. Nashville, DC. This game was a doozy. You had DC go
Yeah,
up early 2-0. You're like, wow, they're doing it. That rotated Nashville side to a degree. You're hoping for DC to pull this one out, and then from the depths, you see you see Nashville do what they do. A red card on a second yellow, a dumb second yellow.
yeah,
It was shooting yourself in the foot to a T, and then Nashville just pounced and they get 2 goals. It was especially it's never good when the second yellow happens and then the team scores within like a minute of the second yellow, and it's like all the momentum at that point is just all one sided, and they get the second goal late, and I think that's a quality of a good team, and have been playing so many games. They're down 2-0. They could have easily just packed this one up and like we're calling it,
yeah,
because I mean they did play a decent amount of like starters in this one. You could go through. I mean Mukhtar, Espinoza, Nahar, like all these guys were playing, and they easily could have been like, we've played too much. I'm not doing this. Like let's just get some subs in and rotate a little bit. No, and they stayed on and they fought back. They get a point at home. And I think with the schedule they've been playing, you take a point at home right now, especially when you go down 2-0. And credit to them. But also, I mean, I don't want to like completely just be like this is all Nashville. Like, I also am proud of DC. Like, this is once again the floor raiser. Now we are now seeing where it's like, okay, you still have a lot to learn because you can't do the shoot yourself in the foot thing, and that's what the concern is for DC is they continue to grow and learn as a team with these young guys mixed in with the veterans. So, I think it's a good point for both teams. I think they both come out of that feeling positive. I mean, I say that from the outside. DC is going to feel pretty probably negative in the locker room with how it all went, but I
Yeah.
still think from the outside looking in, you got to feel good, even looking at DC and the way they've been playing early on this year.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Like Nashville, I think they're just going to get this game and the Wednesday, Saturday coming up. I think these are going to be just really tough games for Nashville. Solely, like not even because of their opponents, but just because of the amount of games racking up, and they've just been consistently in this rhythm of basically having a game every 3 days. But for DC United, I mean this is a big improvement. I mean, just looking at the table right now, I mean, they're in fifth in the Eastern Conference. And I know the Eastern Conference, a little bit weaker, but same record, same number of points, LA Galaxy. And Galaxy have a little bit better goal differential, but the point still holds. I mean, that's a decent benchmark right there is that, they're hanging around middle table now. They are not the floor dwellers that they used to be. And here's the thing, too, is their other DP that no one was really excited. The Romanian guy, Montenu, I think is how you say it, Montenu. Um, we were not excited about him when he was announced in the winter and kind of got flushed under a lot of other announcements. But he now has 4 goals in his last 3 games and has been playing basically full games now. He's jumped into MLS kind of from the get go, but only ripped off 15 to 30 minutes just based on availability and injuries and those kind of things. But these last 3 games, he has played 80-ish minutes each game, so he's back full strength and he's scoring and he's causing problems for other teams. And Baribo hasn't even really been here, so add Baribo to the mix. This is a DC United team that they're drastically improved. And it looks like there's still room for them to go. That's actually reasonable when they're playing Ty Baribo up top instead of Jackson Hopkins. It's very impressive to see them turn around this quickly. So yeah, I think this is more of a staple in DC United than it is for Nashville. I think this is a big resume builder. This isn't a knock on Nashville. This is just, hey, DC United's here and they're going to get in the mix with some of these teams and maybe surprise you in some of these results.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Moving on here, we had Colorado dropping at home against St. Louis in one of the shockers of the week. Rob Holding shown a straight red in the 51st minute after
Really
they go
harsh.
down early
Yeah.
on. Pretty it was harsh. Pretty upset. It's bad. Like the announcers at the time too were about like, ooh, like I don't know about that. Like
Yeah.
it's never
Interesting call. Yeah.
yeah. They do like all the announcer lingo where it's like I don't know, I don't agree with that without just saying I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And then St. Louis gets even a red card late, but at that point, it had been all St. Louis, and I feel for Colorado because I think they were showing signs of maybe fighting back in this one and getting a goal, and then when you go down 10, it's just a tough hill to climb, and their defense is still an issue. Like I still love their attack and how they're like what they've started to build this year. Now it's had the finishing and the chance creation has dropped off a little bit over the past couple weeks, but you can still see the foundation there. So I think I don't know. It's hard to take anything out of this one. I just St. Louis goes with a goal, and that's not a crazy idea. Like we've talked about how St. Louis can kind of just show up randomly at times, and you have the chance to bounce back with that goal being early, but then you shoot yourself in the foot. Like it's just a red card that wasn't needed, and then you're playing 40, 50 minutes down a man in this game.
Yeah. I do think that even before the red card, this was kind of Colorado's that they lost. That came in the 51st minute. I think at that point they only had 1 shot on target against the St. Louis team that everybody knows there's kind of blood in the water there, and that's a winnable matchup. And I believe across the entire game they only had 2 shots on target, and both were 25-ish yards plus out from net. So they had opportunities closer, but didn't even get those on target. So kind of to your point, like the finishing for Colorado, like just like that, has kind of evaporated. And Rafa Navajo, who's like red hot, Darren Yappy, who's been really exciting. Both of them kind of lay eggs, I think, in this performance. Not to mention that Paxton Aronson, we thought we had his coming out game, and then he went back into his shell and hit again. And it's just one of these games where it's like sometimes this Colorado team feels like it's like once one spark hits, the whole flame just goes right up. But if they can't find that first spark, then it's a dud. It's a cold night.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of what we got out of this Colorado team. And I think that's honestly kind of odd for it seems like everything that I've seen from Matt Wells and like how he's coached his team is he's been, I mean, aggressive in play style, but also like very motivating coach, and always, firing up the guys. And then to have performances like that and just lay an egg, I think is really rough. So shout out St. Louis. Road win is huge. It's results like this that keep you away from the spoon. They weren't my favorite for the spoon, but you always have to worry about them a little bit, just given where the roster is right now. So that was a really important win for them in terms of that. In Colorado, I think we're kind of we rode this high of like, oh snap, they might be serious, and now we're kind of back down the crest of the hill and saying, okay, we may not get this Colorado team the way we thought we had them.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's move on to the most depressing topic in the MLS these days, and that is Sporting Kansas City. Portland wins this one 6-0, Tony, and they were up 4-0 within 20 minutes. And I don't know, man. This is like I saw a lot of like discourse online. It's like this is like they are showing the exact reason why pro rel needs to exist in American sports. Like that's how bad it is. Like, and it's one of those things. Like sometimes like people like this is the worst product I've ever seen. This is up there as some of the worst. Like since I have started watching the MLS and I lived through it. Like we watched the Cincinnati horrible days. It like I don't know if it was as bad as this because this is bad and there's nothing. Like there's no resistance defensively ever
Yeah.
with this team, and that's
Yeah.
what made this Seattle draw last week so shocking
Shocking.
because you were just like,
Yeah.
how did they keep them out of the net? And like a lot of times you go back and watch and you're like, oh, it was probably Seattle keeping Seattle in the net a lot of the times in that game. And I don't know, it's rough. It's I don't know what to say. Portland, great job. You took advantage of a team that did not look like they belonged on the field with you, and those are the type of wins. Like we say it as a joke on this podcast a lot, but like the Neville win to keep him alive for 3 more games just keeps going, and we'll see how much longer that lasts. But enjoy this day if you're a Portland fan. One of those home wins you're like as a fan you go to and you're like, that was a great game. That was a fun game to go to. You were on your feet 4 times in
Yeah.
the first 20 minutes and you just got to coast after that.
Right. Yeah, it's a party. And honestly, I was kind of impressed with like just seems like all the pictures that you saw out of Portland for this game, like the stadium's really full. Like despite them during this game, like they were in 13th, they jumped up to 12th before this game. So it was like 13th versus 15th, and the stadium's packed and the fans are loud. This makes why Portland's one of the more special places in this league.
Yep.
But doing that to Sporting Kansas City, that's not you, Portland. That's you guys did not do anything special. I mean, Velda, banger of a goal. Lassiter had a nice free kick goal as well. I don't want to completely discredit those, but Sporting Kansas City from all of the underlying numbers is going for the record books in the wrong direction. They're on pace for some ridiculous numbers for like expected goal differential and like all this stuff. Like,
you see Tom's tweet about it?
No, I didn't.
Vancouver's was the highest so far this year at like 21, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like positive, like
positive, yeah.
Positive differential. And Kansas City was the last at like 22. It was
negative.
Negative 22. Like
yeah,
it could get bad.
Their actual goal differential is -24 right now. So it's like it's disastrous. They've played 11 games. Now I will say this: they are in the Spoon standings. They are 1 point behind Philly, but they have a game in hand. So like just put some levels here on this. Obviously, like Philly, we even though they are just awful this year, like we trust a little bit more based on their recent
Mm-hmm.
uh, adventures. But Sporting Kansas City, like it feels like they're doing this to themselves, and they just don't have a team right now. Like they seriously have like a tiny roster. Like they just need people. They need pulses. So hopefully that comes this summer because I mean anything, literally anything would be an improve. Like this is gonna be mean. Do you think? Do you think the best team in USL right now, if you did like a FIFA manager mode
No,
swap,
no, I'm not even. I'm not engaging in that. I'm not. This is. I'm
they
not even
they
disrespecting
lost
that
3-0 to the Colorado
I don't
Switchbacks.
care. I don't care.
They like
On their
they
day, they're better. I'm not. I'm not engaging
they
in that.
played all their starters against a USL team and got blown out. That's like
I just,
I
Tony, you might be right. I just can't do that to the SKC fans out there.
well,
And trust me,
I'm just giving them ammo so they can yell at their ownership with it.
I've lived through this. Like, how many times I've been asked, like, do you think Ohio State? I'm a Cleveland sports fan. Do you think Ohio
Yeah, yeah,
State could beat the Browns? Like, I I hate that conversation. That's why mostly you're probably just triggering emotions to me right
yeah.
now.
Okay, yeah. But it's different because this isn't college. Like these guys, those
I
other
know
guys are
it's
still
different.
pro.
It is
Yeah,
different.
but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on. They don't want to hear about
Enough
this
of that.
anymore.
Yeah.
To a really good game, and that was San Jose at home versus Vancouver. Um, we were both on this one. I think we both had draw in this one. I think we said if we were going to pick somebody, I said Vancouver, and I think you said San Jose, where you were like I would pick San Jose.
Yeah.
Uh, that looked good for about like 10 minutes in this one,
Most. Yeah.
and then so San Jose scores early. Preston Judd continues his awesome year. Like he's just looked like a
Yeah.
terrific MLS quality player. Um, and then it was just Vancouver, 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 and it looked like San Jose was going to do the San Jose thing where it's like they just held on and survived. But then Berhalter gets the goal late, and honestly, like the fact that they are getting a point at home, San Jose, is a miracle because
Yeah.
the chances that Vancouver were missing in this game were insane. From what actually is showcased here, I think just further cements like I mean, you know me, biggest San Jose guy out there right now. I don't think there's any questioning who the best team in the MLS is currently. Just like
Mm.
from both sides of the ball, it's got to be Vancouver, and the way they've played consistently. This attack is relentless. It is relentless, and they have the midfield. Like a lot of teams, you see attack like this, and you're like super quality attack. The midfield sometimes can be lackluster in those type of teams. Like we're seeing that with Miami. Like we're seeing Ajalo right now like isn't playing up to it. Like there's been holes in the midfield from here and there with this Miami team. This midfield for Vancouver is so strong that even when the attack like lets it up, they win the ball back so freaking much. And I mean, most of that is Sebastian Berhalter. Like, and we continue to see why he's going to be in the U.S. men's national team. Like,
Yeah.
with some injury news that we'll talk about later, he's going to feature for the U.S. men's national team in a game. Like, just everyone get that into your skulls right now. Like, that is going to happen. So be ready for it. It's impressive. It's been fun to watch his growth and this team's just dominance continue to showcase. But on the other end, San Jose did not have their best, and they didn't have their best 11 on the field either because of injury. And for them to still get a point out of a game like this where you feel like you played super poorly, I still think shows the levels of where San Jose's at too, where it's like they can like grind out wins like this and feel good about it. So I think overall, I this is about what I expected. Maybe not the way it played out, but you're seeing two good teams share points in this one, and Vancouver probably should have had all three. And I think it was just a fun game to watch.
Yeah. I think that the injuries really did cool this one off for me, and it's unfortunate because Vancouver ran train on this game, and I don't know if that's truly accurate to what this would look like if both teams were at full swing. Um, Timo Werner and Nico Skiris have just been huge offensively for San Jose, and I think that would have given them a little bit more confidence on the ball because they did not keep much. Vancouver not only out possessing but out pressing as well. I think they posted the highest field tilt number of any team in this match week. They were just breathing down San Jose's defense, and kind of like you said, it's unbelievable that they took as long as they did to score. But one thing I do want to shout out with that is, Berhalter kind of scores a striker's goal here as a defensive mid. Like he gets played into a bouncing ball through behind, and like that's how high up they were. Like Vancouver is just full on press, and San Jose didn't really have much way to break out of that or be threatening, once getting through it. And it just kind of let Vancouver get more and more and more, just aggressive and stay up top. So I think that it also spoke. I don't know if you saw some of these post-game interviews for this game, but they interviewed both the goal scorers, Judd and Berhalter, and there's a very clear difference in their tone. Like Preston Judd was like, "Oh yeah, we wish we could have had more, but really proud of the guys, all the stuff." And Berhalter is just like, "Man, we should have won that. That hurts." But like they were treating that like a loss, and San Jose was treating that like a win. And not wrong for either of those, teams, but I think it really lays out what the expectations are for both these teams and where these guys are at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So certainly builds that point that Vancouver probably is the best right now, and certainly believes that too. And they expect more of themselves.
Yeah, that's the difference between a team coming off a championship run in which they were 10 minutes from winning one and wanting to do it again, and a team that has been bottom of the league for a couple of years that are kind of riding the high of what's going on right now. So, still cool to see. I just still think these two teams will have their voices heard by the end of the year, and the Western Conference playoffs still continue to look like they're going to be awesome to watch.
Yes,
when they
absolutely.
Continuing Western Conference, two teams that expected to be in the playoffs coming into the year was Seattle and San Diego, and Seattle gets another draw in a game which I think they played a lot better than the team they were playing. The fact that this game in general stayed 1-1 on both sides of the ball was pretty remarkable. And now a little bit of a concerning trend for Seattle. Like you're not seeing a lot of finishing up top from the regulars that are the Seattle Sounders. No reason to pull a fire alarm for this team yet. Like I'm not super overly concerned, but I still want them to kind of show that finishing ability, especially with all these guys healthy now. Like this one, we thought they would be making the run, and especially at home, I think this is a disappointing result. The way that they dominated this game, and San Diego, they go up early, get the point out of this game. At this point, with how they've been playing, you're taking a point on the road at Seattle all day long.
Absolutely.
And, I think they're going to come out of this one feeling much better than Seattle is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Brian Schmetzer, coach of Seattle, that was almost blanked for me for a second. He was in the press kind of challenging Seattle's attack and just saying we need our guys to score more goals. We need our regulars to get involved. And, Jordan Morris had a relatively quiet night. Jesus Ferreira had also somewhat of a quiet night as well. We mentioned this when they were scoring a few weeks ago, like this is good to start shaking that rust off. And it feels like this is a little bit of the rust that we were kind of worried that they would have. And again, I'm in that same boat. Like you don't pull a fire alarm yet, but it's certainly something that, okay, we got to watch this. We need our guys back in their groove. They got to start performing like they are the starters that, we assumed they would be. And outside of waiting on Pedro de la Vega, pretty much everyone's here. So, there's not really any more excuses. They have to go out and perform. Drawing at Sporting Kansas City and now drawing at home in San Diego, which was a pretty winnable game. This is a little bit worrisome. I'm not going to lie. They're still getting points out of these matches, but this is maybe a rung below where we expect Seattle to be performing and probably what they expected themselves too. So certainly something to kind of watch this trend if they're going to jump in and kind of pick things up, or if they're going to coast at least to the World Cup, which honestly maybe not that shocking either if they were to do that. So
Yeah, I mean,
we'll
we know
see.
they are never really supporter shield chasers. Like that's never
Right.
been Seattle Sounders. So, they're what they're gonna want is to be as healthy as possible going into the MLS Cup playoffs. Like that is their goal, I'm sure, this year because they're gonna make the playoffs and it's gonna be a gauntlet, and they're gonna need the depth that they have on that
Yeah.
roster to get through the all those good teams that they're gonna face. So, um, it will be interesting to see. Going into Saturday or Sunday, pardon me, we had New York and Columbus starting us off. Hannes Wolf pops off for a hat
Oof.
trick in this game. I think continuing, or I mean, what I'll say is continuing trend for Columbus that is concerning, but New York needed this, man. Like this was like finally we have somebody finish the ball. We looked good in all facets of the game, and this is a game that Columbus is going to be like, how did we not score, and how are we losing this game the way that we did? Like the scoreline makes it look much worse than the game did on the field.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna start, and then we had somebody text it in our chat like, you got to start pointing at some of these guys in Columbus, like the star guys, like the Arfstons of the world, and some guys that are making errors and little things that you just need someone to step up. That's not Diego Rossi on this team, and you haven't seen it. And even he's not looked as good as of late. So it's concerning. I think that this is probably what the season's going to be for the Columbus Crew. Just losing Nagby, losing Abu Ali, and new coach. Like it's just going to be rough. And we'll see what they do. Like they have active owners and active GM, especially in this transfer window coming up. Like they've shown that's their most active window in the past. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out and if they can upgrade. But it I don't see them probably using the injury like transfer designation for a DP. But we'll see if they're able to make some type of move and improve this roster because as of right now, this is a roster that's not going to compete for an MLS Cup. And uh, good for New York. Good home win. They've got to win these games at home, and they finally got out of this stretch that has been haunting them a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, all love to New York City, but I kind of felt like this was more about Columbus than it was about them. Obviously, a huge jump start. New York City was another team that could not buy a win. So getting this at home, I think, was a massive jolt of energy for them. Hannes Wolf, not super active this season. So to jump in and bag a hat trick, I mean, he has been, I would say, maybe like your third or fourth tier kind of scorer that you'd like to see for New York City. Like if he's, got the third or more fourth most goals for your team, then that's kind of what you would like that to look like. And that means you're doing pretty well with how you're funneling things. So he's jumped into the scene. He's getting active now. So that's great for them. Nico Fernandez with 2 assists at that striker role. It's not his true role. So just him making goals and assists out of that. As you got to get you a little bit excited for when they move him out wide when Alonso Martinez comes back in. Because he's doing a lot with something that he's kind of not naturally gifted at. So that's been exciting for them. But the Crew just seem really out of sorts here. There was a clip after the first New York City goal where the Crew's all huddled up and pointing around and frankly look pretty confused as far as whose responsibilities whose and how that just happened to them. It's got me a little bit worried about the coaching situation for them.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly kind of asking questions like, this roster was clearly built for Wilfred Nancy. Now he's gone. Can you recreate that magic? And if not, is it possible to use this roster in a different way to like still work, and get something meaningful out of it? But, one of the things that he was really good at was kind of making, some square pegs fit in round holes. And now you've got someone who I don't know can do that. And now you've got a bunch of round holes and several square pegs still left behind. And it doesn't seem cohesive. It doesn't seem to fit. There's no supporting role for Diego Rossi. Or maybe Diego Rossi's always been strong as a supporting role. That's kind of been his like really good spot, like when he's behind Cucho. It's just not looking good for the Crew. Changes have to happen. I know that starts this summer, but I wonder how much of that is going to look similar to the crew we knew versus maybe a little bit new era, trying to play it a little bit differently than Nance, just because you can't recreate that. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. So um, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, they know the results are going to warrant change. It's just which direction are they going to go with it?
Yeah, there was just so many things working against them to start this year. I mean, like I pointed out, Nagby, Abu Ali, new coach, and not only new coach. Like, you remember all these rumors like that uh, they were going to start recruiting guys to Celtic from Columbus Crew that were Fernandes
Yeah,
was coaching. So you probably had some guys thinking like, there's a chance I might not be here in a month, and like that's just where the focus started from the jump for this team. And it's just been, one thing after another. There no consistency, like you said. Like, I never like when I'm seeing the players like have to do all of the kind of like pointing around, like what's going on, like the
yeah,
coaching on the field, and it's like that feels like the separation from coach to player. And I don't know. I'm not in that clubhouse. I'm not in that fan base, like seeing every single moment in there. So I don't want to speak too much into that, but there's got to be something that's got to be corrected here for them to get going. So we'll see if they're able to do that. Continuing on here, we had Minnesota at home versus Austin in a really electric game. This one was probably the my favorite game of Sunday to watch, and we had the news break before that James Rodriguez will be playing this game and the Wednesday game, and he is done at Minnesota. Like, that is just what's going to happen. We kind of knew this was the case going into it. It was 6 months. Like, we knew it was short, and we hoped he would play more than he did. And coming into this game, you were like, he's done nothing. That's a hilarious story. Like, let's move on. And then it's like, then he's like, oh, the World Cup's coming. I got
yeah,
to turn it on. Like, he gets 2 assists, 2 really good assists. Like, it
yeah,
was like exactly the recipe that you want to see from him at his time in Minnesota play out in this one. And they get the goal. But then what I loved was seeing Austin fight back in this game, because they are now showing a little bit of bounce here the past couple games that I'm appreciating offensively. That you're seeing once these guys start to get healthy. It's like there's some dynamic guys on this team, and the Facunda Torres, the Vasquez, the Ramirez, the Uzini, like all these guys are starting to get involved now, and you can kind of see it coming together a little bit. Like you're feeling good about it, and that's a really good point in the road, because when you go down 2-1, especially in that 70th minute, you feel like that's such a gut punch. You're like, okay, Minnesota's going to see this one out, and for them to respond within the minute and get that goal back, you've just it's hats off. That's a well fought point on the road, and that's how they're going to be successful to make the Western Conference playoffs this year.
yeah, for sure. I think that you. This is one of those draws where you actually walk away feeling better about both teams, or at least temporarily, because it does sting that it's like, okay, we got to taste the beauty of James Rodriguez, masterclass, and now it's gone. You got one more game with him, and it seems like the reporting on it has been that both him and Minnesota, like the club, have been like it's been beneficial to both of them, and kind of exactly what they're expecting, where it was kind of a spot for him to train and regroup and grow into getting some pro minutes and getting paid while at it, and for Minnesota it's a chance to showcase a world class guy even for a moment, and get a few extras butts and seats and those kind of things. So I think from that perspective, you could probably look at it and say, even though it was a little bit underwhelming in the amount of minutes he played, that generally I think it was an okay deal. Like it didn't end up burning anybody. It didn't make anybody look
Yeah,
terrible.
I think it was reported he was the lowest paid senior roster player on the team. Like
Yeah.
it, and when you hear that, that makes it much more bearable. Like I think the concern was how much are you paying James Rodriguez to just do
Right.
nothing for your team. And when you hear that story come out, you're like, okay, well, this is like about you expected, and Minnesota's been good. Like, like
Yeah.
and Tom wrote a story basically saying like the players love him, like they've appreciated having him around and having him in the clubhouse for this time, and I think the story is like he's gonna retire after the World Cup, like that's what everyone's like assuming is happening. I don't think he's like blatantly come out and said it, but like what if like this goes well and he's like I do want to keep playing, and now Minnesota's put together this relationship where they're like, hey,
Yeah.
second half of the year it's gonna be warm, like come play second half of the season. We'd love to have you for the second half stretch, and like maybe something like that happens. So I would love to see that personally as like an MLS fan, just because I want to see how this would really work, especially if
Yeah.
he gets the World Cup legs underneath him and he feels good about how he's feeling, like that'd be cool to see him come back into play. Also, has a Netflix documentary coming out about him
Yeah, I
in the next
didn't
month.
even know about that. I heard about it today.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. But he did say in his post game press conference after this one, he had a few years left in him. He said he was gonna, take every day one at a time. But he said I still got a few years. And I said okay. And then he was like,
Okay,
I
Grandpa.
yeah, exactly. I was like, all right, man. Um, no, but I think that one thing that's just been so interesting with all of this has been I mean, he wasn't a DP. That's all we knew, right?
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, that's fine. But like to be paid nothing, it was just like an absolute flyer from Minnesota. And it's like, yeah, like why not make it work? And I mean, honestly, it like raises eyebrows. Like, why can't other teams make stuff like this work too? We can get James Rodriguez. We can get a polar bear in Texas. We can get James Rodriguez in Minnesota. Like, what's next? And kind of preface this a little bit. It feels like after the World Cup, you might be able to get some exciting moves like that to
Hmm.
happen. But yeah, I mean, I think that it was Taylor Twellman that said like after the game, like, man, this really whets the appetite for having like a real quality player in the league and in teams like this. And that's what you hope that they can recreate after he's gone because man, when they're clicking like that, it's like that takes them next level. They could have won this game. Kelvin Yeboah missed a penalty twice in a row.
Hmm.
This we could have been talking about that, but instead we got Christian Ramirez heroics, which was a striker that they let walk, and it's like, you know, it seems like the ghost of some of their previous decisions has still been haunting them for a while, and
Hmm.
it was almost like for a quick second, like you turn the lights on the scary room with James Rodriguez, and like, no, this is new era. Like the ghosts are gone, and then
Yeah.
just kidding. Breaking news: he's gone, and they're back to the dark. So we'll see what happens this summer. I don't. I would really be shocked if he came back, just based on what it sounds like. But to have somebody that caliber would just be so awesome for Minnesota.
Oh, totally. And let's get into some more ghosts here on the Sunday
Yeah,
night soccer, and that is the Houston dominance over LAFC is back,
hand up.
baby.
Stin was
Um,
right. Hand
Stan was
up.
right. Stan was
Yeah.
right. It was a dominant effort on the scoreline from Houston. Now, chances actually created. This is more the same for LAFC. Like we're not seeing the finishing for LAFC as of late, and LAFC rolled out a lineup, dude. Like this, besides Bouanga, like they had Schaffelberg, they had Son, they had Martinez up there in the attack, and I think this is my concern right now with LAFC is like just the lack of like discipline in the attack at times that I'm seeing, and like the finishing. Sun still hasn't scored a goal. It's remarkable for this team, and I'm not gonna be overly concerned. They're coming off all these games, just like Nashville we said earlier. So I think the second half of the season, LAFC is going to be a better version of the team after the World Cup. I guess that's the hope you have. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I think I want to point to Houston what they're doing. Feel much better about that than I do about LAFC right now. And great effort from Houston. They got their goals early, held on. Were able to like park the bus a little bit. This game, the barrage of goals happened really fast. Too late in the first half, too early in the second half, and it felt great. So credit to Houston, LAFC. I think they're just going to limp a little bit to this World Cup, in my opinion, and then kind of regroup after that.
Yeah, it's the same boat as Nashville. Is that right now LAFC is just playing week in, week out, like game every 3 days, and that's just going to wear them down. It's part of the reason why we talk about like just juggling Concacaf, especially when you make it late rounds like these two did. It's so rough on your supporter shield campaign. So, yeah, I mean, some of that's to be expected. I do think, kind of to your point, like them needing more finishing, and you've got a man named Youngmin Sung starting and playing the entire game, and we're still saying that. That
Playing
is
like
a little
him
bit,
in this game, by the way, was a little interesting.
yes, that was a little bit odd too. But it just worry you a little bit. So I I do see that. I think that this team just desperately needs like a week in between their matches, just once, and to regroup and kind of get their feet back under them. That probably won't happen again until the World Cup, but take it as it comes. They'll be all right. Houston, though, again, like you said, we got to talk about them. We have to give them some claps because, not only did they win this game in dominating fashion, Jack McGlynn hitting some awesome shots, that's ceiling stuff that when we think about Jack McGlynn, what he's able to do, Matty Bogusz, coming in, your ghost theme there, scoring on his old team. But he, these guys are all relatively new additions to Houston. I know McGlynn was a year older, but he was hurt for a lot of last season. So, to kind of get him in the full swing of things, they had pretty much their preferred lineup, and this is what it can do against a good team on their off day. So, something to watch for sure. Houston is pretty warm right now, not temperature-wise, maybe. I have not checked the weather, but 4 wins in their last 5, all competitions, and their only loss was to Austin, who we just kind of talked about. That's a semi-respectable result if you fall short against an Austin team that's pretty solid. So, I mean, Houston's getting some things done. Certainly a bubble team that on their day can do things like this, and when it's not their day, they can really lay an egg. But it seems like that. Their floor is closer to the ceiling than what it has been in the past.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Okay, well, that's going to do it for our recap here. I think I am going to forego our power rankings this week. Now, what I'll run through really quick, just verbally. Vancouver's definitely the top for me right now, and you can give me your feedback to that. Miami's definitely climbing. I can just, they're going to be there here soon. New England's for real in that top 10 now. They just will stay there until they lose.
Yeah.
And then I also like at the bottom, we have Minnesota, is going to be in that top 10. We have Dallas, I think, firmly in the top. I had them, I think, at 10 last week, and so they're firmly back in. And then really it's in between an RSL Houston conversation for me at that 10th spot right now.
Yeah.
And I think if you're riding hot hand, you'd go Houston, but I don't know if I can quit on RSL just yet. So I'm going to stay there. I'm going to feel good about it. And we're going to ride Vancouver at the top of our power rankings this week.
Yep,
so,
number 1. Cool with that.
Great job. I love that. And I think let's transition to some World Cup conversations here, Tony. Before we get into actual group selection here, let's talk about some injuries that are happening around the U.S. men's national team specifically. And that is Johnny Cardoso. It went down with the injury. He's having surgery at Atletico Madrid. He's going to be out for the World Cup. He's out of contention. I think it's a pretty big blow for the depth in the midfield. Now, we were having the conversations already, could Johnny be a surprise cut because he just hasn't performed for the U.S. men's national team and for Poch specifically. And I think you're now going to see legitimate minutes from Sebastian Berhalter in the World Cup especially. Roldan, I think he's still just there as the last resort depth piece and the veteran guy, and we feel good about that. That's fine by me. But Berhalter is going to be one of those first guys off the bench, and especially if you play that 5-back, which God, I hope we do. I think you're going to see Adams and McKennie start in that midfield. That's just my opinion. Now, the next guy up is Tanner Tessman. That has really jumped into contention here. He's also out with injury right now, just so you know. He is out for the rest of the season for Lyon, and everyone's saying he's going to be good to go, which is good. I love that. But I still get a little concerned when a guy's just not playing to end the year. I just don't feel great about that. But, I think it's going to be those two into Tanner Tessman and then into Sebastian Berhalter is really going to be that depth in the midfield now, which is still fine. I still feel fine about that. I just think there's going to be some minutes now for Sebastian Berhalter at end of games where he's going to have to see a game out if we're winning late and help be a part of that. And I think that's where I want to tee it up to you. Do you think he's that guy, or do you think in that scenario they're going to Roldan? Are we going to see Christian Roldan get serious minutes if we're up late in the game now because of the injuries that are happening?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the coach, I think I'm picking Berhalter, but Pochettino has favored Roldan quite a bit. And I think I've said this before, it feels like Roldan is like the Diego Luna 2.0 for Pochettino in the sense that like he's a guy that he can make an example out of. So for that reason, I think that Roldan ends up at least on the roster. Now, yeah, that first guy, whoever you're pulling off the bench first, that may be a game state thing. I kind of think it like if you're, well, I guess there's a couple ways of looking at it. If you're chasing a game and you need a goal, I think you want to put on Berhalter. He's going to put the press on. He might force, someone to make a mistake, a turnover. Plus, I think Berhalter you trust a little bit more when it comes to the finishing. I mean, obviously you saw, he scored this week for Vancouver, which honestly, like, seemed like a little finish, kind of like pretty routine. But if you watch it, he kind of like feints his body to make the goalie go one way, and then he, outside the foot shuffles it the other way. It's pretty sneaky good. So he's got a little bit of that in his bag. I think Roldan's the stabilizer. If you're protecting a lead, you throw him in. He's going to ground people. You can trust him pretty well defensively. And then as well as like under pressure, I think you can trust him with the, passing the ball out a little bit more. Obviously not looking great with that giveaway against Sporting Kansas City that we saw last weekend. But, in general, I think he's the kind of guy that's got a little bit of escapability and can help maintain possession when you're really trying to outlast a game. So I think my final answer is going to be it depends, which is not a very fun one. But I think that you can use him differently for different situations. And that's why you have a huge roster, right? It's not like you have a game plan, you're going to run through the same 5 subs every time. Like you need to be able to adapt. You need to have guys for different situations. And I think that that's kind of how you look at this is they just, depending on what you need, hopefully between the two of them, they got you covered.
Yeah. And we are exactly 1 month away from the World Cup as recording today.
Wow.
So we have hit the stretch here. It is going to be exciting. You're seeing a lot of the 55-man rosters drop right now. And then over the next 3 weeks, you're going to see everyone's full roster be revealed. I think ours is May 24th, if I remember off the top of my head. And it's
I don't know. You're going to have to wait 3 hours after that start. Yeah.
3 hours show for the roster drop. I'm here for it. I love the antics. I'll be honest. Like for this, it's like a home World Cup. I'm like, yeah, like draw it out.
Bring
like,
it on. Yeah.
Bring it on. I love it. Just enjoy this next month leading up to it because I think when the game starts, it's going to be nerve-wracking and find your nearest pub and ride it out. Just ride it out. But let's get into Group B here. I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to go through this again. And just to recap, you had this is my board here that I had.
Yeah.
But you had South Korea winning the group, if I'm not
I had
mistaken.
them mixed with Mexico.
Third, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that was the shocker of this one. Group B, it is not any more normal, Tony, because this is about another as chaotic of a group you can get for one of the host nations in Canada. Canada now finding out Alphonso Davies. It has a muscle injury coming out of this past game for Bayern Munich, and it's a multi-week muscle injury. Muscle injuries I don't like him. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, nope. And that's the same thing with Tanner Tessman. He's the same thing. I'm like, I don't like that. That's like starting some weird conversations that can linger and can be an issue. But especially with a guy like Alphonso Davies, that's all pace. Like that is his game. So when you hear muscle injury, especially in that quad area, like you hate that. So we'll see how that factors in. But pretty wide open group besides Qatar in this one. I think
I was going to say.
I'm going to do this for you right now, Tony, as we get started here.
Yeah.
Put Qatar there. They're just it's a talent disadvantage purely for them. And, I'd be shocked if they're not the 4th place team in this group. So let's run through it here. You've got, I think, a pretty evenly spread 3 teams. And I think any given day I could see either of these teams beating each other. So I'm really interested to see where you go with this one.
Yeah. So here's where I really sit. I'll just tell you where I'm at with 3rd, and then I'll explain a little bit of it. So I'm going to go with Bosnia at 3rd. And there's some talent there. My fear with it is, and it's actually a really interesting range of talent because, like, obviously the headliner with this team is Edin Dzeko, right? It's just been a talisman all across UEFA, and been a really just key role and just nostalgic striker at this point. And that's the problem, is that he's nostalgic. I believe he's 40 years old at this point in this tournament. And granted, we have a bigger group stage. The games come a little bit further apart. I don't think the mileage is going to catch up on players as quickly. But I just worry about that age statement. The other side of it is that they also, one of their other best players is Esmir Baraktarovic, OG New England Revolution player right there, who's 21 years old, and he's been tearing it up at PSV, and probably going to use that as a stepping stone here, shortly in his career, probably to a Big Five league. But it's the other side of it, where it's like the inexperience, like the youth, like it can be exciting, but I don't know. It's hard to see all of this being on the same page. I do also want to give a little bit of credit, like them advancing out of a playoff, a UEFA playoff, I think is worth mentioning and respecting, because those things in themselves are gauntlets. Those are high pressure games that you're playing, in back-to-back days to qualify for it. Like, you're laying out for it like it is a World Cup game. So I have a lot of respect for every team that has still qualified through that means, because that is a really tough ask. But the problem is, I look at these other teams, and this is kind of where I'll move into the next spot. I'm going to put Canada at second. The Alphonso Davies thing is really scary. Like you said, it's muscle injuries can be so finicky. Setbacks happen in them quite frequently. So it's hard to watch, this Canada team without him. I think that they have really done a lot of great things under Jesse Marsch, have kind of a new developed identity, and have really caused a lot of opponents, especially CONCACAF opponents, trouble with just kind of going with this high press, and then at times morphing into a little bit more of a mid block. It's created a lot of issues, and I think that the talent pool for Canada is as strong as it's really ever been. Outside of Alphonso Davies, I mean, Jonathan David has been really strong in why am I blanking at the Bundesliga team? Where's he at right now? Yeah.
No, isn't he with Juventus?
No, is it Stuttgart?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to
you can see where my head's at. But he's playing in a Big Five league. He's doing well. Tejan Buchanan, same deal. There's some great names for this Canada team out there, that make you kind of trust that this isn't just a bunch of MLS guys. No shade at USA, but it's a little bit different. So I really like their performances, and honestly, or what they've been doing recently. And it's not that I don't think that they can win this group, but it's just that at the end, what's that?
He is with Juventus.
Juventus, cool. So yeah, very reputable team, and he's playing there. And it's not that I don't trust Canada, that it's not possible for them to win this group, but I just think that Switzerland is my number one here, because overall they are the most talent rich, this team. I mean, we've seen what they can do to USA. They also flattened Mexico in that same trip to the Americas in that friendly window. But they've also got some really strong names. I mean, Akanji, Xhaka, Kobel, these are guys that all are mainstays at Big Five league teams, that, I mean, are sort of built around. Xhaka is the man at Sunderland. Akanji has been fantastic for Inter Milan. These are just all guys that, man, you'd want to build your team around. And I just think that the way Switzerland's at, I know they didn't win their most recent game. I believe they lost to Germany. But in general, this is just a really strong Swiss team. I didn't even mention Shaqiri. The guy only wakes up for international play.
It's he'll super sub someone to death in this group somehow.
That's right. He'll deliver just a crazy blow. But yeah, I just think that Switzerland honestly is probably the hot team here. I did not look at the actual FIFA rankings. I believe they're the highest overall ranked team.
They are
in the group too. So that's not like a crazy shock or anything. But Yeah, I think the Swiss team is pretty dangerous, and I would expect them maybe to make it to the round of 16 even. Depending on how their draw goes. If they win the group, it'll probably be pretty favorable for them. So we'll see. But that's my group there. Did I line that up how you would have?
Yeah, I was gonna say you made it easy. I don't have to change a thing in my
Nice.
group prediction here. We're in line with that. Similar sentiment with all these teams. I mean, Qatar's Qatar, um, Bosnia. It's just it comes down to talent for me at a certain point in aging talent, like you said. How many more times do we enroll it in Dzeko? And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna sit here and say that I'm super familiar with Bosnia's game, but I think that's also an issue. I I think that I feel more comfortable with Canada playing on home soil, even with the injury concerns with Alfonso Davies. My only concern with Canada, though, and I'm not gonna be shocked if they finish third. I'll just put that out there. Is they have not looked great lately, like as a
Yeah.
team when they have played together. And there's been just like weird stuff around Jesse Marsh, and they had the whole cheating thing going on with Canada, and like just a lot of like weirdness around this team. So I hope they put it together. I think the matchup between Canada and Switzerland is gonna be fun to watch because Switzerland is a very defensive team, like very defensively heavy, talented team, and they will keep games close and then do enough offensively to win games. It feels like a lot of times, especially against higher end talent. And Canada, like you said, is a high pressing team. So seeing those two things go at each other a little bit will be interesting to see what wins that battle. But as you stated, it just comes down to talent. And Switzerland is just the most talented and well organized team of the lot here. And the Swiss team, a lot of these guys have been playing together for a while now. Like this is a veteran group, but it's not like they're in their mid upper 30s, like
Yeah.
40s. This
He's a
is a
prime.
like lower prime, like lower the 30s type prime for these guys that are hitting all cylinders, knowing that this might be one of their last rides altogether. So I feel good about that. I like them winning the group, and I could see it actually being convincingly them as like the top of the team, and then it's going to come down to Bosnia and Canada fighting it out for that 2-3 slot. So we'll see. Home soil can alter things, and if that crowd gets really into it, like that's what I'm excited to see because we've seen it in other countries. Like we've seen the Brazils of the world, these other countries where they have the games in their home stadium, and the crowd just gets nuts. And if you can get a game close and your crowd just gives you that extra momentum boost, we'll see how that factors in. But we're on the same page here. I like our prediction. I feel great about that group and where that's going to lie. Group C is next for us here, as you can see on the screen. I have a feeling we're going to be pretty similar on this one too, Tony. I don't
Yeah.
think there's going to be much discussion on where these teams are finishing. Maybe 3-4, but I think 1 and 2 are going to be pretty straightforward in this group.
Yeah. I'll have to do some digging, see if I can find any upset potential, and use that to qualify it. But yeah, it seems like this one. I mean, it's Argentina, right? We're gonna have a lot to talk about there, obviously.
Oh, it's
So
Austria, yeah.
yeah, and yeah, Austria as well. Yeah, yeah,
No, yeah. So we'll talk about kind of expectations. I think is going to be more the discussion around
yeah.
that group. So we will see. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Now, remember, we do have Wednesday preview. Like, we're not doing a preview, but there's a full slate of Wednesday MLS games. So
Some good ones
uh,
too.
go support your local club. Go to your game. There's some good matches. We're going to FCC Miami in Cincinnati. So that should be fun to watch. We'll see if Messi plays. I could see this being, honestly, a rotated Miami squad in this
Eh,
one a little bit. Um,
nah,
we'll see,
he's gonna
though.
play.
Yeah, but I could totally, like, we're getting close to World Cup time, Tony. I don't know if he's doing double game weeks at this point. I think he might be taking it easy. So we'll see. We'll see. We
Hmm.
didn't sell our tickets this year. We didn't take advantage of the Messi tax when he comes to
Yeah,
town. So
the Messi tax.
we'll
Yeah,
be at that game, enjoying it. Hopefully, get a little revenge from the playoffs. But on Friday's episode, we'll do a little recap. Probably more recap than preview. I think that's more. It gives us more to talk about in terms of what we're actually seeing on the field, and then we'll do, like I said, Group C for the World Cup. So 1 month away. We are ready for it. We are ready for the World Cup, and we're ready for the sprint that's going to lead into the summer transfer window for the MLS. So, with that being said, we will see you guys on Friday.
see ya.